action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here with another T&I video. And for today's video, I'm doing something a little bit different here. I'm not doing a full-on review, but I am going to be taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends X-Men Jim Lee style Biz Figure from Hasbro and seeing how it compares with the older Toy Biz counterpart. Now starting off, we'll take a closer look at the Hasbro figure first. And with the head sculpt, you've got that kind of Wolverine style of hair with the points at the tip that he sported back in the day in the 90s when Jim Lee was drawing him. He's got the pointy ears, which are sculpted on the side, and you can see they kind of stick out in a lighter blue color. The hair is done with a black, and then you've got a blue wash, especially up here on the top, which looks pretty good overall, so no complaints with that. He's got the whited out eyes and the black eyebrows, and he's got the chops that come down, again with the black color and some blue wash. And then he's just got the blue on the face. The main thing I don't like about this figure is the way they've sculpted the mouth with it open. You know, he's like growling or something and you can see his teeth. But I just don't, you know, it works in some poses, but I would have preferred a more neutral look if they were only going to give us the one head sculpt. The other route they could have gone, which would have been nice, is if they made the jaw articulated, which the Toy Biz version does have an articulated jaw. So that's definitely a plus in the Toy Biz category. But I really think the way they sculpted the mouth takes away the look of this figure, which otherwise I think is pretty solid looking. Now for the body, you've got fur sculpted throughout, except for the area here where he's wearing the blue shorts, and he's got the X-Men belt with the yellow and the X symbol there, which looks pretty good. I do have a little bit of a nick or something there in the belt. It's made with a rubber material. It is a separate piece, so it does move a little bit on the figure. Again, on the back of the figure, you've got nice sculpting work with all the fur, and you've got these lighter blues and then some darker blues mixed in. I do like the lighter blue color on this figure. I think it's more in keeping with how he appeared in the comics back in the day when Jim Lee was drawing him. The Toy Biz version is a little bit darker, which doesn't look bad, but I do think the lighter blue is a little bit more comic book accurate. He's got the hands. He does come with multiple pairs of hands, which I'll show you in more detail in a second. The fingers are not articulated on the Hasbro version. And then he's got the legs with, again, the fur sculpted on and the lighter and the darker blue colors. And then with the feet, he's got, you know, he's not wearing any shoes, of course, and he's got the pointy toes. They did give him articulated toes, which is not something we normally see with Hasbro Marvel Legend figures. That's a nice detail. And then on the bottom of the feet, he does have 2 peg holes. Okay, now we'll take a look at the Toy Biz figure, and this is definitely a solid looking figure, one of the better Toy Biz figures, even holds up by today's standards. So you've got really nice wash work throughout the figure, which is not uncommon with the Toy Biz Marvel Legend figures. His fur is a much darker color, which I don't think looks bad, but again, I do think Hasbro's lighter blue color is a little bit more comic book accurate. Like with the Hasbro figure, you've got the black in the hair with the blue wash effect. He's again sporting that kind of pointy Wolverine type hairstyle. The ears are much more predominant on this head sculpt. Again, are sculpted on the side, but they are, you know, they're much larger looking on this figure. And then the thing I like most about this head sculpt is, like I mentioned before, you do get the articulated jaw. So if you want him, you know, with the open mouth so it looks like he's growling, you can do that, or you can have the mouth closed. And you have the teeth that are more individually sculpted, so nice detailing with that. And again, you have the chops and everything that come down on the side. Then for the rest of the figure, again, you have a lot of fur sculpted throughout the body, which looks good. You've got some black wash effect mixed in. You've got the belt with the X once again. You've got the shorts. Now with his, on the Toy Biz version, his shorts are actually more purple than blue. And I actually think the blue color is probably more in keeping with the comics. With his shorts, you've got black and some purple mixed in. And then again, with the legs, you've got the fur and everything. You've got the toes. You do have added paint detail on the toes with the Toy Biz version, and like with Hasbro, you do have the articulated toes and 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. As far as hands go on these figures, with the Toy Biz version, you got articulated fingers. So you can see on both sides of the hands, you've got nice paint applications with the wash effect, and you've got the gray claws, and the claws are nice and sharp looking on the figure. And you get the articulated thumb, you get the articulated articulated first finger that you can do back and forth, and then the remaining 3 figures on the hands all move together. And even though it makes the hands look maybe a little bit big on the figure, you know, the articulated fingers was good for, you know, posing the figure, especially like in handstand positions and stuff. So definitely like that. Now with Hasbro, the Hasbro version, you do not get articulated fingers. However, they do give you 2 different pairs of hands. So you get this pair of hands where the right hand is just kind of a grip hand, and then the left hand is more open, looks like he's kind of reaching out for something. And then the second pair of hands, you get closed fists, and you get an open hand for doing like a handstand or such. And you do have nice paint detailing on the outside of the hand, though the claws are not, the nails are not painted. They are just blue, and then on the underside of the hand, it's just a solid blue color. There's no kind of wash or anything. Okay, and you can see I've gotten both figures into handstands here, so it is possible with both of them. However, it is probably a little bit easier to get the Toy Biz version into a handstand. It seems a little better balanced than the Hasbro figure, and that might be because the Toy Biz one actually does not have a midsection ab crunch joint, whereas the Hasbro one does. So overall, the Hasbro figure actually has a little more posability to it, but in the case of doing handstands and such, the balance does seem to be a little bit better with the Toy Biz one. The other thing to note here is that you can see, like when I got the Hasbro version into a handstand, the head is higher up off the ground, whereas on the Toy Biz one, the way the arms are sculpted, it's lower to the ground there. And the one downside to the articulated fingers on the hands is it does tend to make the hands look a little oversized. It's not too big of a deal in the Biz figure, but I definitely kind of like the size of the hands better on the Hasbro version than I do on the Toy Biz version. Okay, now as far as size goes between the 2 figures, they're actually pretty equal in regards to height. You can see they're almost the same height, having them stand as straight as possible. So the Hasbro figure comes in, if you count to the tip of his hair, just a little bit over 7 inches tall, and then the Toy Biz one is right about the same, maybe just a hair smaller, but again, for the most part, they're pretty close to the same height. Okay, now as far as articulation goes, starting with the Hasbro figure, you can turn the head to the left and the right. The head attaches with a ball hinge joint. The neck kind of is sculpted in a forward position, but he can look down about that much. And then you can have him look up pretty good as well. You get a little bit of head pivot with this one, so you can rock back and forth a little bit. Now with the shoulders, you get that inner butterfly joint, so you've got back and forth movement. You've got good rotation there at the elbow. You can rotate the arm all the way around. You've got, you can get the arm out good there, and then you have the bicep swivel. You've got a double jointed elbow, so good bending there at the elbow. You've got rotation with the hands. You've got hinges on the hands, so up and down movement. And then here at the midsection, you get a rotating joint here at the midsection, and so you can pivot to the left and the right, and you can rotate, but you also get an ab crunch joint, so he can crunch forward pretty good, and then he can look back pretty good as well there at the midsection. You do not get a waist swivel with this one. With the legs, you can do the splits good, you can get the leg forward good, and you can do the leg back pretty good as well. You've got a thigh swivel, you've got a double jointed knee, so good bending there at the knee, and then with the feet, you've got up and down movement, you've got ankle pivot, and as I mentioned before, you do get toe articulation with this one. This figure, you've got the articulated head and neck on this one, so the entire neck moves. You got a hinge joint on the neck as well, so he can look down really good, and then he can look up about that much. You get some head pivot there with the neck movement as well, and then as I mentioned before, he does have the articulated mouth. Then with the hands or the arms, you've got the hinge joint there, so you can only get the arm out about that much unless you turn it. So if you turn it, then you can get it out more. And you've got a bicep swivel, but you do not have any kind of butterfly joint or anything. You've only got a single hinged elbow, so he can bend his elbow about that much, and then you do have hinges on the hand, so you got up and down movement, and then you have the finger articulation, which I already went over. You do not get a midsection joint on this Toy Biz figure. You do get a waist swivel though. With the legs, he can do the splits about that much, and he can get his leg forward pretty good, and really can't do his leg back much. Now you get this hinge joint here on the legs as well, which is a little unusual. and then you also get a thigh swivel. You get a double jointed knee, so good bending there. You get a boot cuff swivel with this one, and then with the feet you've got the hinges, so up and down movement, and then you've got some ankle pivot, not a whole lot, but you do have some ankle pivot, and then again you do have the toe articulation on this figure. Now, one thing to note, back in the day, Toy Biz actually released two different versions of the Beast. The figures themselves were pretty much the same. However, the second Beast they did, which came in a box set, included a lab coat and some glasses. Beast was a scientist tape, and so if you have that, if you have those accessories, they will work on the new Hasbro figure. You can see I have the lab coat on here. I do have some strings that have come loose over the years, but you know, if you want to give your Beast that kind of smart look, it will work on the Hasbro figure since they're pretty much the same height. I haven't been able to locate the glasses. They're around here somewhere, but those would probably fit on the Hasbro version as well. Okay, so now that we've taken a close look at both figures, which one do I think is the better of the two, the more modern Hasbro figure or the older Toy Biz one? So it's definitely a close call here. Both figures have their pluses and both have minuses. I like the more modern looking body on the new Hasbro figure over the Toy Biz one. However, I don't like the way they sculpted the open mouth on the face sculpt with the Hasbro version. I definitely think that takes away from the overall look. Paint applications tend to be a little more solid on the Toy Biz figure, but I actually like the lighter blue fur color on the Hasbro one. I do think that's more comic book accurate. I think articulation is pretty close between the two, but I do have to give a little bit of an edge to Hasbro in regards to that with the butterfly joints and the double midsection joint. Though I will say the balance on the Toy Biz figure is a little better, so you can get them, it's a little easier to get them in a handstanding position over the Toy Biz one. The hands, you know, you got the articulated fingers, but I've always felt that the hands look a little oversized on the Toy Biz version, so I actually kind of like the Hasbro hands better, and you do get two different sets. So again, at the end of the day, which one is the better of the two? Honestly, I would almost say it's as close to a draw as you can get. Both figures are solid. I would be happy with either figure displayed on my shelf. I probably will go with a little more modern looking Hasbro figure, but you know, the Toy Biz figure has been on my shelf for years, and you know, definitely I could keep it there, and it fits in nicely with the other figures. So like I said, really when it comes down to it, it's about as close to a draw as you can get between the two figures, and I'm not really sure if one is overly better than the other. Now, we'll have a full image gallery for both figures up at marvelousnews.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Which figure do you like better? Do you have both figures? And if so, which one are you going to display on your shelf more predominantly? Let me know in the comment section. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later.